Good day. It is the 19th of June 2026. My name is Regan Mugabi, and being that it's a Friday, expect more information from different parts of the world. We talk about stories. We shall talk about the ongoing war or the deal that was signed between the US and the Iran government. The MOU that was that contains the 14 points. We shall talk about more. We shall go deep into the 14 points, and we see who is on the winning team and who is on the losing team. Besides that, we shall also talk about the Uganda Law Society with the Kenyan Law Society that came out to condemn the conduct of Uganda Police Force and the security organs in Uganda onto how they arrested the former Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago, and also the leading lawyer into the BCJ case that is ongoing. So those are some of the stories that we're going to look on to this early morning, and I believe, as always, I'm not alone in the studio. I'm joined with Dr. Semalu Charles Cake. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Joe.
It is a Friday.
Yeah.
Hey. So
What?
It's a Friday. At least give us something for the weekend before we even go further.
Yeah, I feel very inspired, very encouraged
Yes.
as a person because I failed to sleep last night.
What happened?
Yeah, that doesn't always happen, by the way. Even if I just sit anyway, I just sleep off.
Maybe it has been a long week.
No. I failed to sleep because I was following the opening of the Obama Center.
I wanted to talk about that. The Obama Presidential Center. Yes.
It reminded me of a lot. By the time I got to know about Obama, I was in senior 2.
Which year was that?
2008. I was in senior 2. So,
But by then Obama was in politics by then.
Yeah, come on. Obama was in politics as early as 1999. He was a congressman in Chicago.
Okay.
But of course, 2008, that's when he got a DP ticket to run for the presidency. But before becoming a president, he was serving at a congressional level. That is what you call like at local council or to municipality level. Yes, he was running at state congressional level, and all the words, all the speeches,
I remember the speech I remember the speech that he gave on America when he
first inauguration speech.
Yes, I remember that. Yes, but no, I don't remember the entire speech, but I picked something that I cannot forget up to now, and sometimes I use it once in a while. I remember he told the Americans that I will do anything in my powers. In my powers.
Yeah, it was a very great experience. Of course, when you become a politician, things get out of your way. You don't expect things to go, but the kind of inspiration that Obama brought back in humanity in America amongst the black people, come on, it was very, very fundamental. Very fundamental. I was young. I couldn't directly grasp each and everything. But man, it was just so good. It was just so good. Those that at least know a little bit of history of the black people, most especially in America, that was a dream come true. And when they were opening the Obama Center, so many people were around. Jennifer Hudson performed.
Joe Biden
came
Bush.
With his wife, Dr. Jill. George Bush came with his wife, Laura. Bill
Clinton, yes. Actually, they were 4.
Yeah. So it was very, very beautiful. It was very beautiful. The memories, the performance by Stevie Wonders. Like you felt like there was something that Trump had made people believe that it's only the gun, it's only the power, it's only the gun, it's only insults and abuses that can make someone very powerful. But Obama comes up with what you call the kinder, soft voice. This guy speaks and you feel like the words are entering into you. That guy speaks directly into your heart. I was missing those speeches. I was very
actually I watched half of it. I didn't watch the entire.
Just I slept at around 4:15. I slept at around 4:15. I was like, man, that means that you get that power of dreaming again, getting inspired again, looking at him and what he did. Of course he was an American president, but there was a lot of racism still.
Yes, but even up to now.
Even up to now. Himself also somehow got affected. Just watching him give those speeches again, when I was doing my master's in public speaking, I studied all these speeches. I studied all these speeches. These speeches were around 18 minutes, 19 minutes, or 21 minutes. So watching him speak again, man, it reminded me of a lot. It reminded me a lot. I listened to the song that was performed by the black rappers. My President is Black.
That actually, I remember that song. It was a campaign song.
Yes.
after
No, it was after.
after winning. Yes, so
That's when he was winning.
I like that song actually. But whenever I ask for it from DJs, DJ Soft does not have that song, and different DJs.
Yeah, I should play that song. Then Ara Kerry came up with a song called I Believe. Very beautiful. Yeah, the memories were very powerful, and there is something that I always wanted to establish what we call a community center as a person. I always wanted to communicate, to establish what we call a community center, because we come from communities where how do people play in your community? People don't play anymore. Kids don't play anymore.
Yes.
You know what they do? They go for P5, they go to Xbox, they go on TikTok, they don't play, like getting involved. So in the Western societies, what they've done is that they set up parks. And they set up what we call community centers where people can go. Now this center has libraries, it has a basketball courts, it has swimming pools, it has like...
Actually, it's as if it's a museum. I was able to see the dresses of Michelle
That's
Obama.
How it's supposed to be called. But of course with a lot, with a lot of other activities, putting it in a community like Chicago, because in Chicago has the highest death rate. Like people that so much get killed in America, most especially black people that get shot in America by just gun violence. The biggest population comes from Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, the biggest population comes from Chicago, and I really felt bad because Ara Kelly would be the best person to perform that song. He's born and raised in Chicago as a person, but of course because of the incriminations and all that, so they chose Jennifer Addison to perform that song. But of course the memories and the inspiration. You look at someone that speaks life. When Trump is speaking, I'm not saying that doesn't speak life, but it speaks obscenities, tossing people down, boasting, ego, But Obama speaks humanity. He touches human values. It says, it reminds us of one of my favorite quotations from him. He used to say that just because you have the best hammer, doesn't mean that every problem is a nail. Just Net was very beautiful. I called one of my guys that we used to watch that.
And you watched it together?
Yeah, and I called him, man. And the last time we watched his last speech when he was going out, I watched it with my dad in 2016. Yeah, that very year 2016 had a lot of issues. It is the year Kobe Bryant ended his NBA career.
Yes.
It is the year Muhammad Ali died. It is the year Obama ended his presidency. It was almost a year when the Pope came to Uganda. So all those memories, I so much shared with them with my dad, and then he passed on after a few years from now. From then. So it was a lot of emotional kind of experiences, but of course the biggest part was getting big again, dreaming back again. Someone showing that things are possible. I think we should do a little bit of profile of that center. And the other thing actually that stood out,
I think you'll do that in Vision Voices. Sankofa will come up with a report concerning
but the biggest part of it all to me was about democracy. That you have a leader that has led and they hand over power. Even when they hand over power, they still have a right to enjoy their own country. Because it was not only for Obama to enjoy. No. Angela Merkel of Germany came. Angela Merkel of Germany was one of the guests. And the former presidents of America were in the presence. Apart from Trump, actually Trump was the only one that wasn't invited. A little bit of the people that have led America. That's what democracy does. That just because someone doesn't agree or take on believe in what you believe in, it doesn't make them your enemies. So, and the space, the vibes. One of my favorite actors, Tom Hanks, like everyone was around. So it was a little bit of nostalgic and reigniting that very power amongst us to dream again, to believe again, to wake up again, to struggle hard again, and more. So that's why I did sleep. But it was what?
Okay. Good morning, Seba. Again.
Good morning.
I think being that we started with America, we're talking about the Obama Presidential Center. Let's just to go into the G7 summit that happened this week. Actually took place in France, where we saw the G7 or the Great Seven Nations representative, the heads of states that were in attendance. Trump, although dominated the airspace and also dominated the entire summit on issues concerning the ongoing war, and also whenever Trump is, there's that stardom that comes with him, and you end up the rest of the presidents weren't that recognized that much when it comes to the media presence. And also we were able to see within this very summit, we were able to see the Prime Minister of Canada. He came out and glorified and said and praised the MOU that was the MOU between the US and Iran, where he said this could be, this is a game changer when it comes to peace talks and ceasing fire. So we start with that. Behind this very summit, we were able to see William Ruto. He attended, you told us during the week, I think that was on Wednesday, you told us he attended on invite. He was just invited, but he wasn't part of the entire summit, because I actually went back and watched the entire summit, and he was welcomed by Macron, and they called him my brother. How are you? So they have a bond, I would say, after the summit that was in Nairobi, the African summit that was in Nairobi. So what should we talk about, or what's behind the instance behind the Great Nation Summit that happened in France? Because we saw South Africa was eliminated. It is no longer part of the Great Seven. And at first we would say, well, we were represented as an African country, continent by South Africa, but should we say that spot will be taken away by Kenya of late?
I don't think so. The G7 conference, I think that kind of arrangement started early as 90s. It is made up of so many countries. I don't really know what they mean by the G7, because you can't say you have the G7 without Russia and you are without China. And you have Japan, and you have Italy, some of the poorest countries. So you can't do it with Russia, you can't do it with China. And you can't, as we speak now, you can't do it with Iran.
Yes, you cannot.
You cannot do it with Iran.
But we saw representatives from, was it Dubai?
Yes.
Around?
Now, they always get a representative from Africa, someone that they invite, and then they also get a representative from what we call the Asian, that is Asian, Southeast African, North, that SAASEAN, that association,
yes,
that brings Cambodia, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, that very association. They also invite you one member, and then they come to African continent, they invite one member, and then they invite one member from the Gulf states. The Gulf states, that is Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, UAE, Dubai, all those Gulf states are also invited. But they also they just choose a representative, or they just invite someone to make it. But the G7, like we said yesterday, it is, a union or a form of cooperation, a platform of cooperation that brings together the Great Seven countries economically. That is USA, that is France, Britain, Canada, Japan, Germany, and then Italy. That is the G7. According to them, they consider themselves the greatest economies on this planet. And we say that almost 30% of the global power in terms of business, it is determined by those. Yeah. It is determined by those. I think that's why they refer to themselves as the great powers. They always have annual conferences. Where they meet to shape the future, where they meet to somehow agree. Just because you are competing with someone doesn't mean that you don't have to come up with that, because sometimes competition can get a bit, It's what you would say. You take an example of what we call the Interreligious Council of Uganda. It is made up of Muslims, Christians, and all other people with their different sects. They all don't believe in the same, doctrine, but still they come together. It's a form of cooperation that enables countries to move forward, irrespectiveness of the challenges and the irrespectiveness of the competition that they might be having. Yes. So a little bit in the last 3 years, of course, after the emergence of Trump, there is a very big shift in balance of power, like we've been talking about here. Trump seems to come up with a new approach that disorganizes everyone. Now, all of them are members of NATO apart from Japan.
Yep, yes.
All the G7 members are members of NATO apart from Japan. And the relationship between Trump and NATO has not been fine.
Of late, yes.
To the extent that he declared war, he almost declared an offensive war almost towards Denmark and Greenland.
And Greenland, yes.
Who are fellow members of NATO. Because by the terms and the constitution of NATO, when one NATO member is attacked by any other power, it's like you've declared war over all the 27 member states of NATO.
Yes.
So what if one of the biggest strong members of NATO attacks another fellow member? You understand?
Yes, I get
That's
it.
why when Trump so much came out and threatened Denmark that he was going to get them attacked, that was the background as to why countries like German, countries like the United Kingdom sent their forces to Denmark. So they then started operating with them. And remember, the other challenge that they had was what you call the Arctic Circle. The Arctic Circle, of course, if you're moving upwards and you're moving upwards on the side of Denmark, there's what you call the Arctic Circle. Now, that is what you call the northern route. That northern route that can be a little bit easier for trade to be carried out. And they don't want that northern route to be controlled by Russia. Because when you move when you move up away from Denmark, you go to the other side of Russia. And of course, Denmark and America are somehow connected. We did a program here and we talked about the strait. There's what's called the Bering Strait.
Yes.
The Bering Strait is what connects the Arctic Sea and the Pacific Ocean. And then in between here, that's where America is, because that's the other part of Alaska. So they just didn't want, Trump was like, okay, Russia is expanding. If Russia takes control over the Arctic Sea, which they've done, it will be easier for them to come and sail down and take over the lanes. That's Denmark.
Yes.
So Trump is like, hey, I cannot let these guys just today. Why don't I also take over Denmark? That was after arresting Nicolas Maduro.
Maduro, yes.
Yes.
And later on we saw him posting on his ex-handles about his planning to attack Greenland and Denmark.
And Denmark.
Yes.
So that is something that made European powers be like, guy, take it up. Actually it was because of that background that all of them failed to give him support. We've not seen any country that has come out whatsoever to support America during their invasion of Iran. To the extent that Britain denied them even access to use some of their military bases, because Britain has a lot of military bases in Cyprus.
Yes.
Cyprus is an island that is under the control of the British domination. So those are some of the areas. They also wanted to have access to the British naval forces in the Indian Ocean, but all were denied access to. So all European powers, all NATO powers, and all members of the G7, they did not ally with, they failed to give their support to America when America was attacking Iran. To the extent that the last person that was expected that probably she could swing towards the side of America, that was Senai Takaichi,
the Prime Minister of Japan. Yes.
Yes. When she visited Trump, that was last year, everyone was like, okay, let's see what she's going to say. Probably she would also declare her support towards Donald Trump. And she said, no, we don't get involved in that. Right? So it's a little bit, America has gotten a little bit isolated. It has been isolated diplomatically, that is during the time of Trump, and it has also been isolated in terms of alliances, because NATO is an American creation. And America has been disorganizing it, or that to the extent that the last two conferences of NATO, America didn't send representatives, because America always sends a representative. In most cases, it's supposed to be the foreign secretary, that is Marco Rubio, but he didn't go in the last two conferences. So that shows a little bit of a divide. So Trump, being a Trump and wanting to keep what you call American hegemony, what you mean by hegemony is that superpowerness that you have to show around.
Yes.
Yeah, we call it hegemonic supremacy. America wanting to show their hegemony. They so much pushed that Iran signed what we call a deal, such that by the time Trump goes to the G7, he has what to say. Now all those things are very planned. It's not done by mistake. So that's why Trump attacks Benjamin Netanyahu.
When he attacked Lebanon, yes.
Yes. So that's why they had a very long conflict. Disagreement on phone. It was not about that. Because at the end of the day, Donald Trump gets a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu, that's Bibi, the Prime Minister of Israel, and he tells him, please let us stop all our operations towards Lebanon. Why? Because the deal, like we are going to talk about it, one of the biggest declarations or points that were put forward by Iran were like, you're not only signing with us only. If you want us to have a peace deal, you should also stop attacking Lebanon. And of course, that was a communication to Israel. That please stop your invasion on Lebanon, right?
Yes.
But the Israelites didn't want to do it because they've already taken over almost 51 villages in Lebanon. And he's saying, okay, Trump told them, okay, you take over that southern part of Lebanon, but don't go beyond. To the extent they put up what you call a blue line.
Yes.
A blue line, all areas that are behind what you call the blue line. There are almost 51 villages. That's almost 1,300 kilometers of land in Lebanon has been taken away
by the Israel. Yes.
So Trump is like, Mokomao, don't go beyond that.
Okay.
Surprisingly, what Benjamin Netanyahu does, amidst the deal that Trump was pushing, they hit Beirut, which is the capital. And Trump is like, so it was a little bit of a serious confrontation that made it hard for them. So the whole idea is Trump wants to go to G7, like one of the biggest policies of America, of an American president. You don't have to show anywhere. You don't have to show up anywhere where you're not the most powerful person. To the extent that in most cases, even American presidents don't visit the Pope. The Pope visits them.
Yes.
You know, they don't want to be in any kind of arrangement that puts their presidency, because the president is the highest image. The president is the biggest brand of the United States. To the extent that even when you're contesting, they have to measure your height. Like when they take a photo, a picture, you know, these kind of pictures they take for president, the American president has to be the tallest. That's why people like, you know, you have to be the smartest, you have to be the tallest. And two, with any agenda that goes on, not so many of us even understand what was discussed at G7. But we all know Trump came in there.
But yes.
We all know Trump gave them the MOU. So America has to keep up. You have to keep up with you have to keep up the American brand.
Actually, America dominated the entire summit. Most of the issues that were talked about, they all sided onto the American side.
Yes.
For example, the war between US and Iran. The US's negotiation between Israel to stop the ongoing war between Israel and Lebanon. And also US's support to Ukraine onto the war between Ukraine and Russia. So it was after, actually, I watched, and in my opinion, I would say, it centered onto the Americans' presence, because I felt like America, in all the issues that were mentioned, America was mentioned everywhere. So at some point, I would say America took over the entire summit for the days that were in France. Issues concerning that, the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, the ceasefire between the US and Iran, to the extent that the president of Ukraine was also invited because he expected support from US and the other G7 countries.
Yeah. So basically, that is all designed. By the end of the day, you have to keep America up there. America is supposed to be up there. By the way, they deserve it. It's not like they're just pushing themselves there. No, they deserve it. Because Europe collapsed. There is no power in Europe. The only power in Europe right now as we speak has been Germany. But Germany is not a military power. Germany is just an economic power. You know, they have a strong economy, but they don't have a strong military. To the extent that almost America has the biggest base in Europe, and that biggest military base in Europe is in Germany. It's an American military base. You understand? So Europe is protected by America. Okay. That's why when they were having discussions in NATO, America says, please increase your military budgets. Trump is forcing them to increase their military budgets to almost 4%. You know why? Because they buy weapons from
America, yes.
You understand?
Yes.
That's business. So the point is that you cannot have a discussion that you're putting up America on top. America is supposed to be there on top. Why? Because of the Europe is a collapsing, continent. But in BC, in the demographic winter, they don't have young people. They don't have any invasions anymore. I'm not saying that they're like Asia, but at least compared to where they were, compared to that time when Britain was a superpower, Europe is no longer that, And the biggest European economy is Germany, but Germany doesn't have the military supremacy. So definitely they have to go behind America. That's why sometimes they have a confrontation with America, but they can't really get out.
Doctor,
Yes.
Let's first go in for a short commercial break. We come back and we go deeper into the G summits that happened in France. Besides that, after the very summit, we were able to see that the government of Kenya will be signing a mining deal between the Kenyan government and the USA. Those are some of the stories that we're coming back with after this short commercial break. A New Day is the show you're watching this early morning. You can as well catch us onto our innovation app, follow the conversation live, and as well as onto our YouTube channel, that is TV1 Uganda, and also you can as well go onto our website channel and watch us live, that is www.tv1.com. Doctor, we're still talking about the G7 summit that happened in France, where we're able to see the MOU between the US government and the Iranian government. And under the MOU, one of the key values or the key points that were raised within the within the MOU, to the extent that the Canadian Prime Minister came out and praised this and said this is a game changer. There's a few of the points that were under this MOU. One of them is the ceasefire on all fronts between the US government and the Iranian government. I don't know what's your say concerning this point into the MOU.
Yeah, the MOU has 14 points, just like you've said. It has 14 points. These 14 points are they're a little bit historical. When World War I was coming to an end in 1920, one of the most famous American presidents was called Woodrow Wilson. I'm forgetting his number. But led America from 1916 up to 1920 something. That was the American president, was called Woodrow Wilson. In 1920, he came up with what we call 14 points. And out of the 14 points, this is when one of the 14 points, actually the last 14th point out of the 14 points, that's when he suggested the establishment of the League of Nations. So when Obama comes out and they call them the MOU and they refer to them as 14 points, it's a little bit of a nostalgic kind of tool. And the number is not an accident. Why not 20? Why not 15? Why
14?
Not 7? But why 14? Now, in numerology, numbers have a lot of communication in diplomacy. So I just wanted to remind you of that this was not Obama's making. He just copied what the American President Woodrow Wilson said in 1920 to come up with justification of why they were supposed to come up with that. So you've said that out of the 14 points, point number 1 states that they are supposed to have what
ceasefire on all fronts.
Yes, that was Iran's claim. That if you want us to go into a deal, let us have what ceasefire on all fronts. Meaning that America was supposed to stop their invasions against Iran. Israel was supposed to stop their invasions of Iran. Iran was supposed to stop their invasions of Israel, and everyone. In other words, no one is supposed to attack the other for the next 60 days.
Doctor, let me pose a question concerning this very point, the ceasefire on all fronts, because later on we are able to see, and you also mentioned it, that the US president told the Prime Minister of Israel that he should also stop the fighting that is ongoing between Israel and Lebanon. When they say ceasefire on all fronts, that means that they also the war between the Israel and Lebanon has to be put on stop.
Yes,
it is part of it,
and that is one of the biggest issues that has brought a lot of understanding between America and Israel. And Israel, because for them, Israel considers this war an aggressive war. Like in order for Israel to have a little bit of peace and stability, they have to attack before someone gets them attacked. Now, what you have to understand is that Lebanon is in the north of Israel. And Israel has attacked all those countries, including Syria. Because in the northern eastern part of Israel, that's where Syria is. And one of the Syrian areas called the Golani Heights, that was a region belongs to Syria before you get into Damascus. Now that area belongs to Syria, but Israel has dominated it. You call it Golani Heights. Now those are areas that have a lot of oil resources. There's a lot of oil in Golani Heights. But for the last 20 years, that area is occupied by Israel. Now, after taking over the Golani Heights in Syria, these guys also extend their control in Lebanon. Like I've said, Lebanon is in the northern part of Israel. Now, we said as we speak, Lebanon has, Israel has taken over almost 57 villages in Lebanon.
Yes.
You understand? That's almost a space that covers almost 13,000 kilometers. All that area is covered, right? And the UN, sorry, not the UN, Israel themselves, and of course with a lot of support from America, they came up with the blue line. The blue line, the instance is not the Israelites, not even neither the Israelites nor the Lebanese. None of them is supposed to cross what we call the blue line.
Yes.
In other words, it's a line of demarcation, it's a line of defense. So in other words, Lebanon, America recognizes somehow, not officially, but they recognize that the southern eastern part of Lebanon has been taken over by Israel. But let Israel not make any advances, right? Because while Israel makes advances in the southern eastern part, they claim that they are trying to go there such that they beat up what we call the Hezbollah, which they call a terrorist group that disorganizes them. So they were like, okay, before they attack us, let us get them beaten out, right?
Yes.
So Iran comes in and says, okay, we are not only bringing or discussing a war between us, we are also saying that you should also stop your actions or your aggressions against Lebanon, right? Because the Hezbollah have so much been supported. The Hezbollah are so much supported by Iran. So in other words, it's not only just a ceasefire between Iran and America or between Iran and Israel. No, they're also saying no, that we should also include Lebanon. In other words, they are bringing Lebanon into play. That is what pissed off so many people in Israel. That is what pissed off Benjamin Netanyahu. And that's why probably Israel will not accept this MOU. Yes, however, Trump says that he doesn't call the shots, he's the one that calls the shots and all that. But Benjamin Netanyahu is very unpopular as we speak because of
at the moment. Yes.
Yes. So that is clause number one out of the 14
points. I think we should also look onto the respect for sovereignty. It is actually number 2 onto the 14 points that were mentioned under this MOU or the memorandum for understanding between the two governments, that is the US government and the Iranian government. So sovereignty, the Iranian government wanted to have the sovereignty towards their nation as a decision. Yes.
Yeah, the sovereignty is supposed to be respected. That each and everything that takes place within the boundaries of Iran, it is for the Iran government to decide. Remember, one of the declarations, one of the reasons that's why they were attacked is America pushed what we call regime change. That's why they killed the Ayatollah. And they were like, let's kill the Ayatollah and have a new leadership, right? Sovereignty means that Iran has powers within their own state. No one has to tell them what to do. Like what America was saying, that we don't want the Ayatollah to lead. The people of Iran are saying, no, this is our country. In other words, you don't just come and tell us what to do. That's what sovereignty is all about. So the second point out of the 14 points says that the sovereignty should be respected. In other words, America should know where to stop. All issues that happen within Iran, no one has to tell the people of Iran which kind of leadership is best for them. Yes.
Actually, the most interesting part of it among the 14 points, before you go into another story, I think we should also talk about it, the frozen assets to be released. Yes.
Yeah, Iran has a lot of frozen assets. You know, assets, like we say, different countries have resources or have assets that they get involved, that they invest in different countries. I've not of lately, I don't really understand how Uganda, where our assets are. But during the time of Obote and during the time of Amin, we had a lot of assets. But I hear they've been sort of
to different individuals.
Not to different individuals.
Yes.
And most especially within the 40 years of the NRM. These resources, our assets have been sort of to individuals. I'm being serious.
And I've not said no.
Okay. So Ugandan assets have been sort of. But this is what happened. When Iran went into a revolution, that is 1979, most of the countries that they were working with froze their assets. In other words, their money or their resources were denied. Iran was denied access to their resources. That is for the last 40 years. Okay? Now, Iran has been struggling. By the way, these guys are very amazing. With all the sanctions that have been imposed onto them for 40 years, this country has been strong. But they are so much taken off without having access to so many of the raw materials, without having access to so many of the things that the world is experiencing. But of course, now the deal comes in. They're like, okay, number one, we want our resources. We want our frozen assets. Some of them are in Qatar, some of them are in UAE, some of them are in South Korea, some of them are in Europe. And as we speak, all of their frozen assets account for almost $24 billion. That is almost the Ugandan national budget. All of their resources that in foreign states, they are in different countries. Now, in order to make that happen, for them they said, because this MOU stands for 60 days.
Okay.
Yeah, it stands for 60 days. In other words, it is not the final document. It's not a final deal. But this is the basis of what is going to come up with a formal deal. You understand? So what they say that the $24 billion that they are supposed to revert to Iran in terms of frozen assets, Iran says, I want them right away. We don't have to wait for the 60 days. And guess what? Iran has already received $3 billion out of the $24 billion that they are supposed to receive. That money, Iran received it from Qatar, through Qatar. And they said it was sent by Trump. Actually, the Ayatollah and the leadership of Iran, they wanted Trump to take it himself. But of course, Trump, that would be like losing it, as in terms of, it was like losing a diplomatic attack. In other words, they sent the money through Qatar, and Iran has already received the $3 billion. By the end of this week, this starting week, Iran is going to receive $10 billion from the UAE. So before even the 60 days of the deal start, within the first 2 weeks, Iran is going to receive $24 billion US. That is from their frozen assets that are coming from different countries. Actually, all these neighboring countries were very supportive, and that is one. But Iran also claims for reconstruction money. I think it's article number 3.
Yes, article number 3. It is yes.
And you know how much they asked for?
Not true.
$300 billion US, and America is willing to grant that. Now, this is what has made Trump very, very unpopular, because he came up and said that Obama's deal was fake. Obama signed a deal with Iran in 2015. They called it the Joint Complete Operation Plan. I think Joint Complete Operation Plan. It was signed, where all countries, not only America, where all countries, most especially countries in NATO, and almost members of the United Nations, somehow, the UN wasn't directly involved, but most of the members were involved. They were like, okay, let us allow Iran to to enrich their uranium to almost 3%. To almost 3%. We said by 3%, you can use that as energy, you can use that in the chemical, you can use that in treatment processes, because you have what called nuclear isotopes that we use to burn cancers and all that. So by then, Obama spent only $1.7 billion US, and that was by paying for a deal that America failed to fulfill in the last 40 years. That was between America and Iran. It wasn't his only problem. So Trump comes out and says, no, Obama is fake. It's fake. Why? Because how can he just hand over $1 billion?
Just like Iran? That.
Just like that.
And
you know what's happening?
He has handed over 30.
$324 billion
to the Iranian government.
And when Obama is celebrating his establishment of the Presidential Center, he says, Trump did not undo my deal because my deal was bad. He did that because it was done by me. That statement says it's a little bit personal. That my deal wasn't bad, but because the deal was done by me.
By me, by
in
him.
Other words, yes, by Obama. Meaning that Trump has issues with black people.
Thank you.
That's almost what he was trying to say. But Iran is supposed to receive $300 billion to reconstruct. In other words, to bring back their infrastructure, their dams, their roads, their buildings that have been so much annihilated by American forces. So Iran is celebrating.
It's a win for the Iranian. Yes. But away from that, still on that very issue, we're able to see the Canadian Prime Minister. He came out and praised this MOU. He said this is a game changer. Should we say after the US government giving back, trying to restore, to pay back on the destroyed properties and also paying back the debts, should we say this is a game changer? That what he wanted to say is at some point the US government has lost. The game has changed when it comes to war.
Yeah, Mark Carney is a very smart man. Of course, when he says that Trump, this is a game changer, it so much depends on which kind of context. Because it's a game changer in so many ways. It's a game changer to the extent that it's showing America is weak.
At the moment.
Yeah, America is weak because they started a military operation. They called it Operation Epic Fury, which has been a failure. which has been a failure, and they are getting out. They've not only lost diplomatically. Diplomatic defeat is when you get out of the battle, you get out of war, when everyone is disrespectful to you. Okay. What shows that America was disrespected? America failed to get any ally. Because what you're fighting for is real, is genuine, is upright, people will come and endorse, right? They may not send you forces, but they endorse. America has not had any endorsement as far as this conflict is concerned. So that's the diplomatic defeat.
Okay.
That's a diplomatic defeat. Two, it is a game changer in a way that America has lost a lot of money. What is on the record? America has lost 42 jets. That's on the record. And America has lost all their military installation in the Persian Gulf. So America has military installations or military operations over, or you can call them because they vary. In the military bases, military installations, operational grounds, all of them have been lost. In Qatar, in UAE, in Oman, in Bahrain, in Kuwait, in Iraq. You understand?
Yes.
Like all of them have been annihilated by Iran. So that is also a defeat. America lost it when they killed 165 children. That was a very big, America experienced a very big backlash. So when McConnell says that this is a game changer, you really have to understand exactly which kind of context.
And also which game has changed.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I've just been telling you.
Yes.
Economically, America has lost. Diplomatically, America has lost. You understand?
Because we would have said diplomatically it is a win for the US. After all, they decided to go and sit onto the round table between the two governments and see what's the way forward for the better of the two nations. Why am I saying that? Because if you recall, the Senate has sat some time back and said it is spending a lot of money into a war that is not giving out anything to the US government. Yes. So could it be a win or a game changer, or why the reason why they decided to go into a round table between the two governments? It's because later on Trump realized that they are not gaining from it, but instead it is also affecting the US citizen. How? When you look onto the fuel prices, we saw the US citizen also came out and had criticized the fuel prices that had kept on rising high. Besides that, the global economy also, and I believe being that the dollar is actually the global currency, it was also affected onto when this war came out. Yes,
America has lost on so many fronts. Of course, number one, besides the diplomatic key at international scene, Americans themselves, they didn't rally behind this war. The public opinion in America was not supportive as far as it was concerned. Actually, just because we do most of the prominent stories, I think we should get a day and do stories that don't so much come out in the mainstream media. There were demonstrations in America everywhere, calling
about this very well
to stop the genocide. There was already genocide in Gaza, where Palestinians were being eliminated by the Jews. Now, when the war of Israel against Iran also started, so many people were demonstrating in the parks, in universities. We followed up here what called the knocking protests, where almost 70 million people in America came on streets. So America did not only lose militarily or diplomatically, they've also lost each and every day. America loses confidence in the system. The trust, the public trust people have in their leadership. The only card that has made Trump survive for all that long is because he's a white man. If it was Obama that was pushing that, bro, you would have seen a lot of impeachments already.
True.
So that is a very big exposure of the weaknesses the Trump administration has had, most especially when it comes to the foreign policies. So that is also a very big front where they've lost. So they've lost.
Doctor, when you talk about the Trump administration, regards onto this very MOU, should we say that under the Trump administration, this is a win for him, or it is not a win for him? Why am I asking this question? Because if you recall, he came with a slogan saying that he's making Americans great. But at the moment, America is losing money at the moment, paying for what they have not they couldn't have paid for.